So again, my name is Shelby Dwyer. I'm a counselor at University Health and Counseling Services, and this is Yoga for Mental Wellness. It is a 60-minute yoga class that is rooted in Yin Yoga, which is a much slower and more grounded practice of yoga. It targets the connective tissues in the body rather than the muscles, so we hold certain shapes for a bit longer in order to target those connective tissues in the body. Today, we will be doing a little bit of Yin Yoga, but also just a little bit more just kind of stretching and maybe more traditional movements that you might be used to, as well as a little bit of core work. I know, where is that coming from? Because if y'all have been practicing with me since March, I don't really do core work, but it's important. So today's practice is going to be focused on yoga in the morning, right? I think so often in mental health, I'm like, how are you winding down at night? Like, how are you preparing for sleep? But it is so important to also really have a nice, supportive, empowering start to your day. And so hopefully this class and the movements that we'll do today can invite in a bit of that empowerment in a way to kind of set your intention for the day in a way that feels accessible to you. For today's class, you'll want a pillow. I grabbed a pillow from the bed, so that way I'm actually pretending that it's like morning bed yoga with you. You may also find that you could use a block or maybe a big textbook if you have one, or a stack of books, as you might need them at some point. And then if you want a blanket, you can always grab that, because if you do decide to do the sequence one morning in bed, you'll have your blanket there, so you could use it. But to get started, we'll actually come down onto our back. If you want, you can lay your head on the pillow, or you can lay down directly onto your mat. And yes, again, we have Luca, our mascot, with us. Want to say hi? Nope, he's just gonna be sleeping. All right. So you could almost take this initially as you're in bed, you've just woken up. Maybe your alarm clock has just gone off. Maybe that incites excitement. Maybe it incites annoyance. But either way, can you sort of greet that emotion and that reaction without judgment? Just taking a moment to settle in, since we haven't just rolled out of bed. Just notice if there's any areas in your body where you're experiencing any sort of tightness, some sensation. If anything is pulling or throbbing or aching in any way. Maybe do a quick scan of your body, just noticing if there are any areas of your body where you might invite in some relaxing or releasing of a grasping or holding or clenching. So really just letting your whole body relax and melt into your mat or your bed. Maybe starting to breathe a little bit deeper. Maybe sighing out the mouth as you exhale. You might start to breathe more deeply into your belly, so maybe even bringing your hands to your belly. Imagine that you could breathe directly into your hands on your belly. When we feel stressed or when we're anxious or exerting a lot of effort, we might breathe more with our chest. And that tends to be more of an activating style of breath. But when we can soften our front body, when we can soften our abs, our core, our bellies, and just breathe deeply with a soft belly, it invites in the sense of relaxation and safety in our bodies. You can try activating your core muscles for a moment and just notice, like, okay, I'm working, right? Things sort of tense up. You have no choice but to maybe breathe into your chest. Notice what's happening. Maybe your heart rate jumps a little bit. Maybe you start to feel more tense. Maybe emotionally you feel more tense. And then just soften everything. Breathe deeply into the low belly. We'll be here for just a few more moments, but now that you've kind of noticed that difference of breathing with the chest versus breathing with the belly, ensure that your body is relaxed to the best of its ability. And then imagine that this was you in your bed getting ready to start your day. And check in with yourself for a moment for what stories you might be telling yourself about today. What stories have you created around your experiences that you could have today? What story are you telling yourself about how the day will go based on what you know you have planned? What stories are you telling yourself that involve people that you may encounter in your day? Just noticing again what internal dialogue is there that's sort of predicting your day. Again, without judgment, just getting a sense of what you're feeling like the day will end up like. Take a big, deep breath in and exhale out the mouth. Again, big breath in. Big exhale to let go of that preconceived idea of how the day will go. Once more, big breath in. And let it go. Hug your knees into your chest. Give yourself a squeeze. Maybe gently rocking from side to side, just kind of massaging out your spine, massaging out the sacrum, that part of your low back. And then extend your legs long towards the ceiling. You might reach for your ankles or your feet just to kind of give your hamstrings a little bit of a stretch. Maybe you just allow the legs to hang and just kind of massage out any areas that feel a little bit tight or like there's a little bit of tension. Something that you might also do is rub your hands together. Get them nice and warm. And then cup your hands over your knees as they're extended. This is something I learned when I was doing a Reiki certification. We also used to do it in my yoga teacher training when we would assist other students in our training, or when I would assist students in a studio, warm up my hands and then place them over someone's knees. And or even your ankles. Well, that might be a little bit harder to reach. but it can sometimes offer the body a sense of grounding and a little bit of warmth. Bend your knees in so that they're coming toward your armpits. We'll move toward happy baby or stirrup pose. Hands can reach for the inside or outside of your feet. And really find what works best for you. If it feels like your feet are too far away, maybe your knees don't bend that far, you can always reach for your shins. So finding what works for you and taking whatever variation works with your anatomy. If you have your hands reaching toward your feet, you might encourage with your hands for your feet to pull down toward your shoulders and maybe simultaneously pressing through your feet. Imagine you could press up onto the ceiling. You might even gently rock from side to side just a little bit, being mindful of your balance. And here in particular, be mindful too that you're not pressing your thighs too far down, because sometimes it can apply a little bit of compression or pressure in the inner hip joint, the hip flexors. You can imagine that if you were right side up, you'd be in a squat. So sort of like malasana, if you've done vinyasa classes. Keep breathing here, really taking those deep breaths just as you did initially when we first started this class. See if you can relax the muscles in your legs. And even though you might be sort of engaging your legs to push, maybe for a moment you could sort of relax them. Relax your arms and just kind of let your bones do some of the work. Take one more big full breath here. Exhale, let it go. Allow your knees to bend. Hug your knees again once more. Maybe gently rocking from side to side. And then lower your feet down onto the mat. Lift your hips up and over towards the right edge of your mat. And then allow the knees to come back in towards the chest. Then allow the knees to drop over towards the left. Maybe bringing your arms into a cactus around your head. Maybe letting your hands rest on your torso. Maybe arms just rest alongside you. If you find that your right knee is pretty far away from your left, like you're almost kind of like that, you can always bring your pillow in between your legs. And this is a nice way to also support the right hip as well as the inner right leg. It doesn't necessarily pull as much on the muscles when the right knee is supported. Gaze can be towards the ceiling or facing away from your legs. If you decide to gaze toward the right, you're in a little bit of a twist in your spine. Both shoulders are flush against your mat. Here in this shape, you might feel potentially a stretch across the outside of your right thigh, across the IT band. Since we have that gentle twist going through the spine, you might feel some sensation across your back. maybe even across the sacrum. For me, I can also feel a spreading of my upper back since I'm having my arms at goalpost. You might even feel like an opening and a twist across your torso and the front side of your body, a broadening across the chest. Allow your jaw to be soft. Maybe your eyes close periodically. Really breathe deeply into the right side of your ribs. Allowing each inhale to almost massage your right ribs and massage out your abdomen. Maybe even imagine the breath could move toward your right hip. Just really breathing into any sensation you might be feeling. I don't know about you, but sometimes when I'm on my back for too long, I get very stuffy, and so that's happening right now. And if you find that's happening to you, you can always prop your head up on your hands or grab another pillow and prop your head up, or grab a tissue. You can do that too. We'll be here for maybe just a minute more. Breathing deeply again into the right side of your ribs, into your belly. Breathing in a way that feels most comfortable for you and your body. Big, full breath in. And let it go. Slowly move your pillow off to the side. You might hug your knees into your chest for a moment. Bring your hips back to the center of your mat. You could extend your legs long up towards the ceiling again. You could also gently allow the legs to drop and lie flat on your mat, supine again for just a moment. Whenever you feel ready, bending your knees, bringing your feet down to the mat, and then lifting your hips up and over towards the left side of your mat. And then allowing the knees to bend and drop over towards the right. Again, shoulders stay flush with your mat. Maybe bringing the arms in a goalpost shape around your head. Maybe resting the arms on your torso. You might even let the arms lay alongside you. And if you find that maybe this side is different from the first side, and maybe your left leg is a bit higher and doesn't necessarily touch your right, you can always bring that pillow right back in between your knees for some extra support. Really just relaxing your muscles in your legs, relaxing the muscles in your neck, your chest, your arms, your torso, even your feet. Similarly to our right side, you might feel some sensation across the outer left hip. Maybe even some pressure on the inner leg line of both legs. You might experience that twisting sensation through your spine, maybe across the front side of your body, your belly, and opening and broadening across the chest. Good morning, Luca. And good night. Yeah. So you'll notice that we've been in this shape, we were on it for a few minutes on the first side. And that is part of yin yoga, where we come into a shape, as I mentioned, and we hold for a period of time while the muscles are relaxed. And so while these can be done, these supine twists are typically also done in vinyasa classes, they can also be really great for yin yoga since they stretch specific areas of the body. And since we're holding for a longer period and we're relaxing our muscles, we're even supporting our muscles potentially with a pillow, we're able to really get in more into that connective tissue. So right now for me, I can tell that in my body, I'm getting into the twist in my spine. This is not a movement I typically do throughout the day. So I can feel that there's this constant pressure. It's a gentle pressure, but a stretching or a twisting sensation in my midsection. And it's about a 4 or 5 out of 10. So not too gentle, not too intense, on a scale of 1 to 10. And I know that I'm targeting my connective tissues, as when I got out of the first side, on the we were twisting towards the left, I was a bit achy throughout my spine. And it felt like a little creaky and sort of, I felt like I had aged. And that is typically a sign that we've targeted the connective tissues in our body. They're a lot more tough. They're a lot more dense. They're not as pliable as our muscles. And so because they're a bit harder, that's potentially why we feel a bit more achy. As you feel ready, take a big, full breath in here. And exhale. Slowly remove the pillow. Luca sighed right as we exhaled. Remove the pillow. Bring your knees back up to center. And then walk your feet back so that you can graze your heels with your fingertips. Bring your feet to knees with distance apart. So really hips with distance apart. And then first, we'll just pause here for a moment. Just kind of let the body return back to its sort of habitual state. Maybe your arms rest, palms face down alongside you on your mat. Now start to build awareness of your core. And so maybe you have this idea of sort of like knitting your ribs together. You might have heard that a lot in classes. It's almost like you could imagine that you were sort of suctioning your ribs in, pulling the belly button in toward your spine. That will automatically push your low back down towards the mat. Place your hands again alongside you, maybe pressing into the mat next to you, and then begin to lift your hips up towards the ceiling, coming into bridge. And what I like to do is kind of help my hips a little bit. So I'll start to walk my shoulders in so that I come onto more of my shoulder blades. And then I bring my hands to just below my seat and kind of hoist my hips up towards the ceiling. As I'm lifting my hips up toward the ceiling, I'm also pushing my knees forward towards the front of the space, being mindful that I'm not crunching into my neck as I was just doing. So making sure that I have enough space in my neck, that I'm not experiencing any pressure or a numbing sensation across the cervical spine, the back of my neck. I could potentially keep my hands underneath my seat or maybe on my thighs to add a little bit of support. You could also add your block or your books if you have them. Did not have mine nearby. Apologies for not cueing that sooner. But you could potentially bring a block on whatever setting you like to rest it underneath your sacrum, which is this flat part at the base of your spine, just potentially above your seat. And this is a nice way to support still being in this bridge shape. So you're getting the opening across your body. You're opening the hip flexors, which can sometimes be really tight if you're sitting a lot. Also potentially experiencing a bit of an opening throughout the chest and the shoulders. For those of you that are doing this without support, I promise we're not going to be here for too long. But really engage your core. Lift your pelvis towards the ceiling. You might relax your glutes, but really kick in your quads. Have them be really activated. Knees moving forward. Hips up towards the ceiling. Maybe you walk your arms underneath you and interlace your fingers just to increase the heart opening sensation. Breathe into the belly. Take one more long breath in. Exhale, slowly lower your hips down toward the ground. Extend your legs long along the ground in front of you. He sighed again. I don't know if you can hear him. He's so silly, little boy. Settle here for just a moment. I'm going to grab a sip of water. Now gently roll over to your side. And you'll want your pillow. You'll bring your pillow behind you on your mat. And you'll kind of have to play with the placement of your pillow on your mat. But you'll want to potentially, I don't know why I'm scooting, I can just move the pillow. Have the pillow hit where your sacrum is, the base of your spine. And then begin to lie back down onto the pillow. If you have a big enough pillow, it might support your head. But if you want to sort of scoot down a little bit to support your neck and your head, you can do so. And then your legs will take a diamond shape. Sorry that this is in the way. Let's see if I can move that. Okay. Your legs will have a diamond shape. And if it feels okay, your knees can splay out to the side. If it feels like you might need some support, grab another pillow or grab even just roll up your blanket or something and add that for support underneath your knees. The further away your heels are from your hips, the less it's going to pull on the outside of your legs, the IT band. The closer your heels are toward your hips, the more it's going to definitely increase sensation across the inner leg line, the groin, also even potentially tugging on the outside of the thighs. So find what distance your heels, your feet from your hips will work best for you. But in this shape, again, as we did actually in bridge pose, we're targeting the psoas. So this is a muscle that if you tuned in last week, I was like, I think that's the muscle I'm talking about. And of course, afterwards, I had to check. But the psoas is this muscle that connects from our hips, our back, part of our back. It winds around and threads through our hips and then connects to our legs. And it's actually responsible for when you're walking, that action of lifting your thigh up, lifting the leg to walk. And so often when we're sitting a lot, if you are potentially, the psoas can get a bit tighter. And so our hip flexors can feel tighter. We might have back pain. It might not feel as comfortable to walk. And so doing these stretches potentially also in the morning can just set yourself up to have a bit more of a smoother day in terms of mobility. You can have your hands resting on your hip bones, maybe on your belly, alongside you. You want to play around with experiencing the sensation of feeling your fascia in your body, this connective webbing that covers everything and sort of keeps all of our organs and everything in place. You could maybe play around with lifting your arms overhead, maybe bringing your arms into a goalpost shape. And notice how even just your arm movement changes where you feel sensation in your body. Since all of the fascia in our body is connected, that's why you might experience sort of a different sensation in a stretch, even when you do something as simple as moving your arms. Allow your legs, muscles to be relaxed. Again, use support under the knees if you need to. Breathe deeply into your belly, allowing that breath to sort of massage out your abs, the front side of your body that we just stretched and opened in bridge pose. If you notice that your mind tends to wander when you're in these more stagnant shapes, when we're holding, you might find it useful to come back to any actual sensation you're experiencing in your body. So noticing a physical sensation like a stretch or maybe a pulling. Certainly in this practice, we never want to experience any sharpness or pain or numbing, right? We want to be mindful of our bodies and really pay attention to what sensation we're feeling in our body. Reminding ourselves that we, in this practice, do have control over the sensation that we can experience, and that deeper is not necessarily always better, right? Going to like the hardest, most intense sensation is not necessarily going to make for a better practice. So finding that 4 or 5 out of 10, not too intense, not too gentle. And then holding in relative stillness to allow the body to shift out of its habitual patterns. Take a long, full breath in. Exhale, use your hands to push your knees back together. Ooh, might be a little achy. Roll over to one side just so that you can remove your pillow from behind you and then return back onto your back. Maybe give your knees a squeeze. Maybe gently rock from side to side. And then slowly begin to work your way upright. And then keep your knees bent, feet on the ground for just a moment. Bring your hands to behind your knees. Remember that time I said we were going to do core work and I never do core work? It's happening. So gently begin to lean back, keeping a long spine. Keep your head in line with the rest of your spine so that you're not putting an extra strain on the back of your neck, your cervical spine. You might continue to hold on to the back of your thighs just behind your knees, and then continue to lean back until you feel your core engage. By core, I mean your abs, this part, your belly. Yeah, good boy. If if you feel like you're like, okay, I feel my abs, like this is good. Make sure, yes, good boy. Pull your shoulders away from your ears. And then you might begin, hi, sweet boy. Okay, practice is gonna be a little special. You might begin to lift your legs up, maybe keeping your knees bent. Good boy, Luca. Maybe you begin to straighten your legs. Maybe you reach your hands toward your legs. Whew. I'm gonna hold on to my legs still and keep a little bit of a bend in my knees, but I'm still keeping my spine long and I'm balancing almost on like my sacrum. So again, that flat part of my spine. My abs are pulled in, my belly button's pulled in, my shoulders are away from my ears. Good boy, thank you. Neck is long. Keep breathing, really breathe deeply into the belly. Imagine that your breath could massage out your abs. Reach, maybe let go. Reach your arms long for a moment. Keep breathing. One more big breath in. Exhale, lower your legs. Maybe curl up over your legs. Kind of give yourself a hug for a moment. Yeah, I've never do core work. And then we do it and it's like, oh boy, okay, we're here. We're feeling our bodies. There is sensation in my abs. Come onto all fours, so a tabletop position. And yogi's choice. If you'd like, you could keep your toes tucked to kind of get a little bit of a toe stretch. You could also lower your feet so that the tops of your feet are flat on the ground. Your hands will be fingers spread wide, hands really evenly pressing into the floor or your bed. And your wrists will be underneath your shoulders. Knees will be, I'm at a little bit of an angle, so I know it doesn't look like I'm necessarily in alignment, but knees will be underneath your hips, and your knees will be hip width distance apart. Look between your knees, make sure that you can't see your feet, and that'll ensure that your ankles are also coming out directly from your knees. We'll move through some cat and cow poses. So lower the belly, push your heart through your upper arms, coming into cow pose. Exhale, round the spine, push the floor away. Maybe gaze toward your belly button for cat. Inhale, drop the belly, arch the spine for cow. Exhale, round for cat, pushing the floor away. Belly button pulls up. Inhale for cow. And I'll invite you to really move at your own pace here. You might even really try to match the movement with your breath, knowing that your pace might be different from mine. Yes, hi. This is so funny. He never does this. Thank you. Okay, yeah. He's friendly. You say hi to everybody. Say hi, Shelby students. Maybe invite some some movement. So kind of swiveling the hips from side to side. Maybe moving forwards and backwards. Kind of finding what your body needs. Any wrist sensitivities, you can always come onto fists. And then as you feel ready, gently bring the toes together, your big toes together behind you. Sink your hips back toward your heels. Allow your torso to melt over your thighs. And then come down into a child's pose. Or a Luca's belly kisses pose. And if you want to sort of relax the arms for a bit, you can allow the arms to drape alongside you. Hi. Good boy. Here, you can also bring your knees a little bit wider if you want. Oh, whoops. Oops, you okay? If you want to sort of let the torso melt down over in between your thighs. Sorry, I'm like yelling in this little ear. If you want to bring the knees closer together, that'll provide a bit more support for the back. But here in this child pose or embryo pose, if you have your arms alongside you, see if you can really just let your body be supported by the ground beneath you. The muscles are relaxed. Maybe your forehead is propped up on your pillow or on a block or a book, just to help support the back of your neck. Child's pose can be a nice way to kind of ground the body, as it offers a physical sensation of protection to the front of our body where all these major organs are. It can be a nice way to ground the nervous system as we kind of make ourselves into this small shape and kind of curl up and everything is kind of cocooned. You're in mommy's video, don't kick me. Whenever you feel ready, begin to press through your arms. And you may choose to stay in the seated position, maybe bringing your knees close together. You could also sit cross-legged, so figure out what maybe works best for you and your body. And we'll move through some side bends. So first, lower your left arm down alongside your left hip. Reach your right arm up towards the ceiling. Big breath in. Really lengthen your spine out here. Exhale, hold. Keep lengthening through your right arm. Lengthen through your spine. Pull your belly button in toward your spine. Again, sort of that action of like the knitting of the ribs together. Let's pull in our bellies. Activate our core so we're protecting our back. Big breath in. And then as you exhale, arch up and over towards the left, maybe pressing into the floor of your bed with your left hand. The pressing into the floor allows for you to feel a little bit grounded. So similar to last week when we were rooting through our pelvis and lengthening through our spine, we're rooting right now in our bottom half. So whether you're sitting cross-legged or as I am in sort of a hero's pose. Sorry, I have so much cat hair on my face right now. You're arching up and over, but we're not necessarily crunching through the left side of our ribs, right? There's still space so that I can really breathe. I'm directing my breath more to the right side of my ribs. I'm finding length through my spine as I kind of crescent shape up and over towards the left. You might play around with your gaze, maybe gazing down toward your fingers on your left hand. Maybe gaze goes up towards the ceiling. Make sure that both shoulders are pulled down and away from your ears. If your right arm tends to go numb at all, you can always lower it down beside you, continuing to be in this side bend. Take one more long breath in. Exhale, come back to center. Moving on to the other side, you'll lower your right hand alongside your right hip. Reach your left arm up towards the ceiling. Again, find a lot of length through your body, through your spine. Pull your belly button in toward your spine, redundant spine. And again, there's that sort of suction cup action with your ribs, allowing that core to activate to really protect your back here. One more full breath in here, long, long spine. Exhale, arch up and over towards the right, really pressing down through your pelvis, whether you're in hero's pose or seated cross-legged. Shoulders are away from your ears. I have to consciously kind of remember to lower mine. And even as we're arching up and over to the right, there's still space here along our right side. We're not crunching into sort of our side body. We've created enough length so that we're almost like a crescent moon. Hi, you're okay. Breathe deeply, maybe into the left side of your ribs now. And notice how breathing into this side bend maybe even just expands the depth of your arch. Play around with your gaze, maybe looking down towards the mat, maybe up towards the ceiling, just kind of finding what feels best for your neck. One more full breath in here. Exhale, lower your arm. Pause for a moment, maybe bringing your hands to rest on your legs. If this were the morning and you found that you needed more energy, you can always have your palms face up on your lap. If you need a bit more grounding energy, maybe it's like right now, like the end of the day, you can always close, bringing your palms to rest on top of your legs rather than open up towards the sky. Whether you're seated cross-legged or in this hero's pose, align your ears over your shoulders, shoulders over your hips, long spine, crown of head reaching towards the ceiling, chin parallel towards the floor. Your core is activated, so your belly button gently hugging in toward your spine. When you feel ready to begin moving again, you can gently come back into all fours. And you'll extend your left leg to come in between your hands. And sorry, that was so awkward, but my cat is here and I spoil him. So I will inconvenience myself for his comfort. So coming into a low lunge, your right knee will rest on the mat and you'll bend into your left knee, maybe bringing your hands to rest on top of your left leg if you feel balanced. If that feels like it's a lot, you can always rest your hands or fists on your mat. But here we'll move our hips forward and down, making sure that the hips are relatively balanced behind you. And see if you can relax the muscles in your legs, really just letting your bones hold you up. Your arms will use some effort because if your hands are reaching towards the floor, there'll be some effort to sort of prop you up. But see if you can just really relax the muscles in the legs. Again, we're targeting sort of that hip flexor, that psoas muscle that wraps from back here, goes through the hip, connects at the hip flexor to the thigh. So you might feel a stretch across the top of your right thigh and in your right hip flexor. You might also feel a stretch across the top of your left thigh as well. And keeping your head in line with the back of your neck in line with the rest of your spine will help protect the back of your neck. You can imagine again that even as we're in this shape, in this low lunge, that you could reach the crown of your head at an angle. So you're lengthening the spine just as we did when we were seated upright. Take one more long breath in here. Exhale, begin to straighten out through your left leg, maybe walking your hands back. Maybe your feet reach up towards the ceiling. And here you want to ensure that your hips are relatively even. So that might mean pulling one of your hips forward or back. Swing your left leg back to meet your right. And we'll move on to the other side. So bringing that right leg forward in between your hands and then lunging your hips forward and down. I'm not going to hurt you. Oh, you're okay. Lunging your hips forward and down. And again, you might bring your hand behind you just to make sure that your hips are relatively level. And then letting the bones do the work. Your arms are going to exert some effort. Good stretch. Maybe you walk your hands up your right thigh and lunge forward. So finding what works for you. You know from the first side, we won't be here for too long. You might experience a stretch across the top of your left thigh now, your quad, maybe even in the hip flexor on your left side. Spine is really long, growing out of your pelvis, just as long as if we were seated on the floor instead of in a lunge. One more long breath in here. Exhale, straighten through your right leg. Begin to walk your hips back. And then maybe pull your toes out towards the ceiling. Make sure that your hips are balanced and that you're not leaning towards one side or the other. This is to sort of release the leg, but also get a good stretch to the back of your leg. And then as you feel ready, bending back into your right knee, and then coming to sit either cross-legged, or if you'd like, you could lie down on your back. But since this is geared toward more of a morning practice, I might invite you to sit upright. If it feels safe to do so, you can close your eyes. And just settle in for a moment. If you're seated upright, I'll invite you to do some sun breaths with me. And again, your eyes can be closed, or you might keep a soft gaze in front of you. But again, keeping your chin parallel to the ground beneath you. Bring your arms alongside you as you inhale, reach your arms up towards the sky. Exhale, move your arms downward as you breathe out. Inhale, arms reach up. Exhale, arms lower. Move at your own pace. Hands touch as you reach the depth of your inhale. Exhaling. Hands touch down as you exhale fully. Keep moving and keep breathing. Knowing that my pace is different from yours. 3 more at your own pace. At the end of your third exhale, you can gently lower your hands alongside you. And again, maybe palms face up if you need more energy, palms face down if you need a bit more grounding energy. If you're lying down on your back, you can gently rest your hands over your belly, or maybe one hand over your belly, one hand over your heart. For those of you seated upright, again, long spine, reaching the crown of the head towards the ceiling. Ears stacked over shoulders, shoulders stacked over hips. Your core is engaged to support your spine. Tune into your breath. Tune into your heartbeat. Tune into your body and notice if there's any sort of swirling of energy that you might be able to sense. Is there any lingering sensation from our practice? Keep taking some deep breaths. Long spine, maybe shoulder blades gently melt down your back. And I'll invite you to set an intention for your day. And I know right now we're practicing, it's almost 5 p.m. Eastern time. But you still have some hours left in the day. And if you're practicing this in the morning, you can set an intention for your entire day. So recall at the start of this practice, we acknowledged what stories we might be telling ourselves about how our day will go. And now can you set an intention for how you will carry yourself through this day? Maybe it's as simple as a word, such as grace, strength, empowerment, kindness, compassion. Maybe it's a sentence or a phrase. I will persevere. I will hold my head up high. I will remember to breathe. Maybe it's today's a day. It's going to be a day. So calling in that intention that you might need for today. Bring your left hand to rest over your heart, fingers spread wide. Right hand rests on your belly, fingers spread wide, apply a gentle pressure. Gently close your eyes if it feels safe to do so. Take a long breath in. Exhale out the mouth. Again, big breath in. Exhale. Last one, make it count. Big breath in. Exhale, let it go. Slowly lower your hands alongside you. Gently blink open your eyes. Come back to your space. Thank you so much for practicing with me today. Again, this is every Monday live from 4 to 5 p.m. Eastern Time, except for if there's a holiday, and it's in partnership with University Health and Counseling Services and the Center for Spirituality, Dialogue, and Service. If you have questions, comments, please feel free to reach out to us in the comment section or in the chat when we're live. Thank you so much for being here. Take good care of yourself, and I hope you have a really great rest of your day. Bye.